fall, everybody. I am a strong believer that fall is God's favorite holiday. So now that we're in it, I appreciate it, and you all should too. The weather's nicer, even though some of you all might disagree. You don't have to deal with pollen. You don't have to deal with sweating unless you intend to sweat. So, hey, God loves fall. God loves all of us. Anyway, let me get into today's thing. Recent events have made me think a lot about getting older. And as a single person, like many single people, even as much as we enjoy certain aspects of the single life, at a certain point, we think about what we might be missing by not being married or haven't been married even. On a side note, I came across an online profile where a woman said she wasn't interested in any man that hadn't been married before. Okay, let me get this straight. So you prefer a man that failed at marriage before over someone that has never done it. I, yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of logic in that I'm missing, but yeah, I am missing it. I guess, and this is just a guess, that hey, the second time is a charm. Maybe you learn something from the first one or something like that. Whereas with the person that never did it before, doesn't have that experience or whatever. But if you love somebody, I mean, how much experience do you need? I mean, I guess there is a difference in living a married existence with someone in the same domicile and sharing stuff. I guess I still didn't get it. And as you can tell by my rambling about it, I still don't get it. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe the divorce guy learned from his mistakes. It just seemed weird to me. Anyway, you take that single life and the thoughts of what you're missing by not being married, and then you add the lack of kids to that, and it's like a double whammy. Well, not really. I don't see in any way how having kids or not having kids would have made my life better. Well, having kids would have made my life better than it is now. Man, hey, I know some of you all might disagree with this, but kids are whack. Even some of you with kids will agree. Kids are kind of whack. They're like selfish little minions that just like serve to suck the life out of you, suck the joy out of you. I love the kids being tricked. Now, I know you all love your kids and all that mess, but let's be real. You can't stand those rugrats. And even if they're grown, they're still rugrats. But you can't say that those rugrats have made your lives happier than if you hadn't had them. And if you do say that they made your lives happier, it's just because you just don't know the alternative and you feel like you have to say that. Otherwise, your life might not have any meaning or something like that. And then you'll be in the existential dread that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But let's break this down though. If you do want to disagree with me about the kid thing, I mean, if you had no kids, you have a ton more money. Think of all the stuff that you could have, the investments you could make, things that you could do if you didn't have them. You have more time to travel. You could learn a trade, all of these things again if you didn't have kids. You could develop some kind of skill that you didn't have before. You could have more sex. That's a big one. You could actually enjoy the sex that you are having without worrying about waking them up. You have more time to focus on your actual relationship with your significant other. I, I'm done. But I think you get the gist of it. And I can go on for days about the positives of not having those rugrats. Wait, I'm not done. You probably have more hair because you'd be a whole lot less stressed. Man, and then kids, they're getting all kinds of stupid stuff. And the reason for that is because they're stupid. And in this day and age, kids are even more stupid. Like, don't get me wrong, kids have always been stupid. But you have to admit that today's kids are even more stupid than we were when we were kids. Apparently, there are levels of stupidity. And these kids today, they're on like DEF CON 5. They like break the stupid meter. We were just normal stupid when we were kids. Okay, now I'm done. Maybe for real. The real benefit, the only real benefit to having kids is that they can take care of you when you get old. It's like referring to a previous podcast. They'll put you in the tub when you're old. That is, if they even like you when you get old and they're older and adults and they're not out trying to do their adult thing. You know, kids when they grow up to be adults and stuff, they get sick of their parents all of a sudden and act like they don't want anything to do with them, and then they come back around eventually. Anyway, I'm done now for real. This isn't about kids. I just kind of went off on a rant. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, but I guess it is kind of about kids. But what's interesting to me is that the same way that I just trash parenthood in favor of being childless, I could do the same thing about living the single life versus being married. For example, I mentioned that you would have more money if you don't have kids. Well, that shouldn't be true if you're single. Yeah, married couples, in theory, they should have more money. So scratch that, unless one spouse is stealing from the other, which I've heard it actually happens in marriages for real. I actually know some people that this happened to for real. Okay, so scratch that one. If you were single, if you were married, you'd have more time. No, hold up. What am I trying to say here? If you're single, you have more time to travel and learn something. Now that one is true. Okay, it's so much easier to move. You don't have to worry about spouse's input. Single people are definitely having more sex than married people. Now, although I say definitely, this is only my opinion without any type of statistics to prove it. But when I talk to married people, it seems to be true. It shouldn't be true. I mean, if you're laying in the bed every night with your quote unquote person, you should definitely be having more sex than a single person. I mean, there's literally, and people say literally but they don't really mean literally, but I'm saying literally. I mean, there's literally pussy or dick, whichever you prefer, no judgment. It's pussy or dick less than a foot away from you in the same bed if you're married. If you're not having more sex than me, then shame on you, man. I think that a single person would be less stressed, that's another one, than a married person. Having to always have somebody's feelings in the back of your mind with every decision you make, yeah, that could be somewhat stressful. I guess the point in all of this is that you can always find the positive in your situation regardless of what your situation is. But for some reason, while the positives of not having kids has me like falling on my knees thanking God, the positives of being single, while I appreciate, don't make me feel the same sense of relief. And this is despite all the people that I know and knew that are miserable or were miserable in their marriages. And as I get older, despite my optimism, I have to admit that the chances of my being married are getting slimmer and slimmer. And part of that is because I don't want to marry an old woman. Sorry, old women. God bless you. I don't want to marry anyone that's fat or lame, or all they want to do is just want to eat. They can't walk a mile, let alone run a mile. And I don't want to be any one of these sugar daddy either. See, if I could get my Frankenstein on and take the brain from an older woman and put it in the body of a younger woman, because having conversations with these young women can be painful. Well, having conversations in general can be painful with people. But if I could do that, switch the brains out and get that body, but with that mind, I'd be set. And then I could have deep philosophical life conversations with someone after spending an hour in the gym together, followed by an hour in bed. See, that'd be a beautiful thing if I could get all of that. But because it doesn't seem like I can, the odds are getting slimmer and slimmer. Yeah, anyway, the point in all of that is when you turn a certain age, and that age is different from different people, different for different people, you feel certain things. You contemplate life's meaning. You wonder about your existence in the world. Doesn't everybody come to that crossroad? Have you come to that crossroad? you person that's listening to this right now, either you come to it or you hadn't. Yeah, you in your car, you at that crossroad. Yeah. Anyway, on a side note, I kind of lost myself right there. On a side note, thank you all for listening while I contemplate the meaning of my life. And you should be contemplating the meaning of your lives too. We're all in this together. And while you're contemplating the meaning of your lives, tell 50 friends to tell 50 friends while you're at it. Let them contemplate the meaning of their lives while listening to this thing. But if you hadn't come to that contemplation point yet, I guarantee you that it's coming. And it's gonna suck when it does. I'm sorry, y'all. But shoot, most of you all know it anyway. Like I said, this podcast caters to a demographic of a certain age. And if you're at that certain age and hadn't come to that point, I don't know what's wrong with you. But if you are younger and you hadn't come to that contemplation, hey, welcome. Anyway, forget about it. No, don't forget about it because I'm coming back to that. I was talking to Reggie the other day or last week. Yeah, that Reggie, the one that's always off to the side that won't speak to you at the end of the episodes. But I was talking to him and I was telling him about these feelings about getting older and being single and all of this stuff and all those ramblings and stuff that I just rambled on to you all. And he used the phrase existential dread to describe it. Reggie's so funny because I was actually just sitting on the couch, like doing something, and all of a sudden he just texted me the next day after we had that conversation. He was like, "Existential dread, that's what it is." And I was like, "Okay." And for those of you that aren't familiar with the term, I'll let you know what it means. Okay, it refers to the moments when individuals question whether their lives have meaning, purpose, or value, and are negatively impacted by that contemplation. It may be commonly, but not necessarily tied to depression or inevitably negative speculations on purpose in life, such as the futility of all effort. Sheesh. An example they give is, if one day I'll be forgotten, what is the point of all of my work? Now, while that's a tad bit heavier than the place that I describe myself in right now as I get older, or a lot heavier than the place that I describe myself in. Or maybe I am in that place, but I'm just not thinking deeply enough about it. Regardless, I ain't even gotten to the part about life having meaning or purpose yet. I'm just talking about marriage and not having kids and being of a certain age and not having achieved those things, if those things are achievable. I don't know if those things would be achievements. I guess they are. I guess anything that you accomplish is an achievement, but is that an accomplishment? I don't know. Especially if you believe in soulmates where people just like come together. That's not an achievement. Having kids could be an achievement, I guess, but it's just a byproduct of doing something that you enjoy doing. I don't know. I'm thinking way too much about that. But the point in all of that is, well, I read that definition. I don't know if my life would have more meaning or purpose if I had one of those things. Maybe the meaning and purpose thoughts I hadn't gotten to yet. Maybe that's the existential dread that'll come next year as I continue to get older. I hadn't figured it out. Yeah, I ain't figured it out. But for right now, for the purpose of this joint that we're on right now, I'm just talking about the possibility of dying while single. Yeah. Like I said, like I just said, I don't know that marriage will give me any meaning. I guess maybe to the other person that I'm married to, definitely not any purpose. Oh, I don't know. And furthermore, I don't know that I want my marriage to hold all of that weight. Can you imagine what it'd be like being with somebody that relied on their marriage to give their life meaning? If that person ever got divorced, it mean that their life would have no meaning. And and if their life didn't have any meaning because they put it all in their marriage, I guess the next step would be to jump off a bridge, and we don't want that. No, I'm good. So that's good. We came to a good determination that, yeah, marriage does not add more meaning or purpose to your life. And if it does, you're in trouble because if that marriage ends, then there's a good chance that so will you if you put that much into your marriage, even though you should put a lot into your marriage. As you can see, as I talk through this, I'm still struggling. Anyway, now, changing a little bit, I do hear women all the time talk about how their kids give their lives meaning and purpose. And that's something I'm smiling because Reggie used to always be disgusted when he would hear women saying that. But hey, that's my guy, Reggie, though. Even though part of me kind of agrees with Reggie on that, it does sound like misguided thinking. I don't know. I mean, I have to acknowledge my ignorance because there's a bond between the mother and child that I'll never understand. Again, I'm the one on my knees thanking God for not knowing personally. But it is interesting that there are people that see their purpose in life being to pop another life out. And I guess after they do that, they're done. They fulfilled their purpose, even though you might live like a total of 70 years. I don't know. That seems like the bar is pretty low on like measuring what your purpose is. But again, who am I to judge? Do what you do. But moving on. So if my existential dread that Reggie refers to it as isn't about me being married, then why do I feel the way that I feel about being older and not being married? Again, I don't feel that way about being older and not having kids. And the odds are against me being a multimillionaire, and I don't feel bad about that. So there are a whole list of things that I haven't accomplished, achieved, however you want to describe it, things that I hadn't done that don't make me feel any kind of way as I get older. But for whatever reason, the single thing does make me feel a certain way. Now, to Reggie's point about existential dread, there is some meaning of life and purpose and all of that jazz that I'm feeling as I get older. But I think that I've nailed down the reasons for those feelings. So when I think about value and purpose and meaning of life, all of that makes sense. I can make sense of all of that. Uh, I just can't wrap my mind around why I don't feel better about being single, even though there are a million good reasons to feel good about being single. And some of those I ran through earlier. But there are tons more. I mean, shoot, when comparing a single life to a married life, just on paper, it seems like the single life wins. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Even after even after even after having been in relationships with women at certain points, I couldn't stand. Even after on this very podcast, ending episode after episode by talking about yet another couple that was going through a divorce. Even after experiencing the joy of sitting on my couch and watching football all weekend without being bothered with stuff that I'd rather not be doing. Even after being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want. I never want to tag along with somebody while they're spending hours shoe shopping or purse shopping or dress shopping. Single people don't have to do all of that stuff. I have to listen to the gossip of the day and what, ooh, girl, what so and so did to so and so and all of that and how they snatch their words and all of that stuff. You don't have to endure all of that stuff if you're single. Yeah, I really do need to start appreciating how good I got it. Uh, I might be going through some kind of like existential crisis or existential dread or whatever it is. But not having a wife should not be on that pile of dread that I'm going through or experiencing or whatever. So I'm just gonna rock this single life until I'm not, even though I am gonna get married eventually. Still, I better enjoy this stuff when it lasts, because the one thing I hear about married people is, boy, they reflect back on their single lives, a lot of them. with fondness, or at least the possibility of single, going out on first dates and stuff like that. The things that they used to dread when they were single, they look back at it now and they're just like, well, maybe it wasn't that bad. Now, with that said, there's a flip side to that, because out thing as things get crazier and crazier in this dating cycle, in this new age of dating, online dating, and all of that. When I tell married people my stories, they're like, "Yeah, I'm cool on this side." So, guess it all depends on the purpose. Either way, that sounds like some good conversation for my therapist. Existential dread, y'all. Anyway, you all know I like to have fun on these podcasts, and I guess the evidence of what I was talking about today, even though you might not tell, because I was talking about existential dread and all that comes along with it, and the fact that I'm going through this existential crisis as I get older. Still, as you can see, it's not like I'm here on camera crying or anything like that. For those of you that could see me, I really need to get these YouTube numbers up. If I could get my YouTube numbers just to match my download numbers, I'd be set. But anyway, forget all of that. But the point is, I like to have fun with these topics because they're interesting to me, and I just don't see the point in crying at you all about woe is me and all that stuff. Life ain't all that bad. Shoot, hey, could be some kind of Haitian dude crossing the border. Now that's bad. I won't go into that. But the point is, I like to have fun, but I also like to be real with you as well. And usually at the end of these episodes, I bring the mood down, as if existential dread didn't bring the mood down. I like to bring it down even further at the end, even more down than it might be. And today is no different. Anthony A.J. Johnson died last week. Anthony Johnson, for people that don't know, he was the crackhead from Friday. I think he was the crackhead from Friday. Honestly, I'm not sure. He used to like in the movie, he used to do crackhead stuff, but I don't know for a fact that he was a crackhead. But he seemed like drugs had some kind of problem. He had some kind of problem with drugs in the movie. In the movie, I have no idea how he died, at least not yet. But of course, it'll come out because it always does. And what's sad about it, um, well, before I get into that, on a side note, I saw an interview where he said he only got paid $10,000 for that role. For some reason, we all think about like cats when they're in movies or something. If they're not rich, at least they've reached a comfortable place. But he only received 10K. He went on to do other things, but it doesn't seem like he was well off when he died. As a matter of fact, his widow, I saw an article with her recently where she was talking about how she didn't have money to put him in the ground, bury him, for people that don't know. She didn't have money to put him in the ground, and she called his fans, his friends and fans, fake fans, because they talked about how they missed him and all of that, but they weren't doing anything to help out the family now that he was gone. And I don't know that as a fan that that's your obligation to contribute to a GoFundMe or something like that, but maybe it is. I don't know. Either way, it was kind of sad. Also, on another note, I saw an interview where his agent referred to him as an icon. Now, while I understand that you usually speak glowingly about somebody in death, calling that dude an icon, that might be a bit of a stretch, or a lot of a stretch. But anyway, this isn't about icon status. Forget all about that. Um, the point in all of this, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is because, like I always do, that dude was 55 years old. Um, Also, shout out to Melvin Van Peebles. I just heard about that the other day, but at least he lived his life. He was like 89. But AJ Johnson was 55 years old, AKA too young. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it some more. We need to take better care of ourselves. It's like I spend too much time on these joints talking about people who are in their 50s who are dead or dying. We need to do better. You. It's the last time you've been to the doctor. You've been to the doctor recently? All right, when? I'll just leave it at that. Eat some vegetables. Yeah. I'll probably get more of a lecture normally, but you're in luck because I'm going through this existential dread thing. So I'm keeping the lecture brief. But when I get past that, trust me, another lecture is coming. And it's probably because there'll be somebody else in their 50s or 40s who will be dead. And I'll be talking about that anyway. And lastly, let me just say this. Shout out to all the Virgos out there. It's my favorite sign. I always say that everyone needs a Virgo in their lives. I also believe that Virgos are the most single of all of the signs. Of course, I don't know that to be fact, but boy, I tell you what, Virgos are really picky. If you get a Virgo to marry you, you really caught them right. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to say Virgos are perfect because nobody's perfect. And unlike other people, other signs, one thing that a Virgo will do is admit his imperfections. Virgos are extremely critical, not just of themselves, but of others. Virgos can be extremely anal, which can be used for good, if you know how to use it right. Virgos can be kind of particular about their things and how they like certain things. They can be creatures of habit or routine. Virgos are probably the least spontaneous of all of the other signs, but again, that can be a good thing as well because Virgos always have a plan. They love to plan and they don't just love it, they do it well. Virgos remember things. Virgos are sensitive. And I know this, and keep this in your back pocket. Even when you meet the most confident Virgo, I tell you what, I wouldn't say the confidence is a facade because it's not. You can be truly confident, but I tell you what, whereas you might tell somebody else from another sign something about them and they'll just dismiss it because that's what they do. Virgos will take that back home and actually like put some thought into it. They might eventually dismiss it, but it wouldn't be without them putting some thought into it, like I just said. Yeah. So anytime I meet a Virgo, one, I'm always happy because I know exactly how to deal with them. And I know exactly that even if they might act like they don't hear me or they're trying to play something off or something like that, I know that they hear me. And I know if I say something to a Virgo, they'll take it back. And I know that it'll resonate with them. If you don't have a Virgo in your life as a husband, as a wife, as a friend, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, you should get one. I'm telling you, you're missing out on a lot. But on that note, I will let you all go to enjoy your Friday. If it's a Friday when you're listening to this, most people don't. They listen to it later. So whenever you are listening to it, I hope you enjoy your day. We are back to the normal schedule. So I'll be back Tuesday. And with that said, Reggie, come and say something to the people today. No, Reggie's still not talking, but he will. Trust me, he'll talk. All right, y'all. Thanks a lot for listening. Tell 50 friends to tell 50 friends and hit me up at um, go to datingwhileadulting.com, see more information. Like I say in the intro every week, send me emails at michael@datingwhileadulting.com. And other than that, have a good day, have a good night, have a good afternoon, whatever you are doing. And until next time, goodbye.